was expecting you. Come on in. Hey, do you want something to drink? Water, whiskey, coffee, beer? Water. Okay, I'll go get some water. You just have a seat on the couch. I'll be right there. You know, I'm glad you're here because I wanted to tell you the story of this last trip we were on. It was crazy. So, it's one of those trips where it's not that I didn't like it, but by the end, I was ready to go home. So, let me start at the beginning. It was me, Chris, Ryan, and our daughters.
Oh, what a great plan we had for this trip. 3 Jeeps, 3 guys.
Let's roll out!
Our 3 daughters, all besties, and we were headed back to the Owyhees. It was late fall, and we've been getting much needed rain and snow in Idaho, which is not great for the Owyhees, but the weather was looking awesome for this trip. We were headed to Birch Creek Ranch, a place we'd never been, and all signs, including a beautiful sunset, were pointing towards another epic adventure.
Are you photobombing me? You're photobombing me. I can't believe you're photobombing me. All right, get out of my photo bomber.
No. It's not a photo.
We probably have about 20 minutes of daylight left, and there is no way we're gonna get to our campsite before dark. We're gonna be driving in the dark tonight. In fact, I'd be surprised if we even air down with much light left. I think we're about 10 miles out from the turnoff where we hit dirt, and I'm just struck by how remote it is out here. Like, there's just less and less people. Even though we're on the highway, there's nobody out here, and there are no lights. So when it gets dark, we're talking dark. Unless there's some kind of light from the moon, we're gonna be using our off-road lights tonight. So I like wheeling in the dark. There's some danger that comes with it, but I think these roads will be mild enough that we can just turn on the lights, have a little convoy, find our way to camp tonight. We'll see. We'll see.
We hit dirt and stopped to air down just as the sun was starting to pull down its last rays. And as soon as the girls got to be together, they lost interest in basically any other part of the trip except for each other.
It's as if they don't really like each other.
No, they're not excited at all.
The dads were also pretty excited to hang out because we hadn't been out together for quite some time.
Yeah, so Ryan, it's been since
a year.
Alver Desert, I think, since we actually went out for an overnighter together.
Yeah, I'm disappointed you went on any other trips without me, so that won't be forgiven.
The roads were looking good, but we'd never been out this way and didn't know exactly what to expect.
Guys are voting that we're going to be putting up camp in the dark. I tend to agree with that assessment. In fact, I think we'll be driving in the dark very, very soon. So we're going to turn those off-road lights on, hit the trail, and go find Birch Creek Ranch.
Have fun, Lydia?
The roads were great, and we made good time on the 25-mile trek to the turnoff. It had obviously rained out here recently, but nothing too bad and not much mud to speak of. Boy, would that change later in the trip, but for now, we were enjoying an easy drive in the dark.
All right, so we are now dropping down. We're gonna lose about 2,000 feet of elevation or so, and our pristine roads have now run out, and we're on a little bit rougher dirt roads. I wouldn't call these too technical or anything, but it's definitely not maintained. Adela and I are just jamming out to Taylor Swift.
Yes.
And having a good time, so we're gonna keep doing that.
We got to camp in the pitch dark, set up camp, started a fire, and began to decompress.
It is pitch black at 7:15 tonight, so we're gonna burn a lot of firewood just chilling out, but I can't wait. I feel so much better. No cars, no pressure, no emails, no phone calls. It just, like, I'm finally starting to relax a little bit. Here's to hanging out with your good buddies around the campfire, with your daughters who are also good buddies, hanging out together and having a good time.
Read them on the bumper in huge letters. It says Tundra. And I'm like,
One of these days, we're bound to wake up without epic surroundings. But today was not one of those days. Remember those 2,000 feet we lost in elevation on our way to this spot the night before? Well, we found where those feet went, and they were straight up above our heads, peering down at our little campsite on the river. We camped past the ranch right next to a backcountry airstrip, which made for a beautiful meadow for the girls to explore. The morning was calm. Everyone was in good spirits. We were excited about exploring, and there was an overwhelming sense of gratitude to just be out there.
I just want to take a second and express a moment of gratitude. As the sun comes up, I'm looking around, and I just feel like immense gratitude to be able to have access to these lands and to see these incredible rocks. And when the sun comes up, I don't know, I just was feeling it, so I wanted to stop and say, thank you, world, for being so beautiful and allowing us to be here to experience it.
We broke down camp early and were super eager to hit the trail and see the rest of Birch Creek Ranch before putting in another 80 miles of dirt today. The ranch is actually two properties, the Morrison and the Birch Creek ranches, built close to each other. They are surrounded by chocolate and cream-colored hills, rock spires, and red cliffs. And the whole thing feels like a hidden oasis in the middle of the harsh Owyhee landscape. These 120-year-old ranches were built by a Basque sheep herder and a West Virginian transplant. They used a lot of rhyolite and basalt rocks from the area and employed a mix of traditional Western and traditional Basque construction techniques to build the structures. The public is welcome to visit, so we took our time exploring Morrison Ranch, which has a caretaker most of the year, even though there is no one home today. The girls ran around together having fun, and the guys felt like awesome dads for giving our daughters this wonderful experience. This feeling we had wouldn't last. Before long, we got in the rigs and started heading down the trail along the Owyhee River towards the Birch Creek property, which is about a mile away. The water crossings were a sign of things to come, and the scenery was so good I just couldn't resist getting a few more drone shots to humble brag in these videos about how cool I must be to be out here in November. Well, hubris has a price, and that price was my drone. Watch here as I start circling the ranch at 40 miles an hour without obstacle avoidance on. Dumb, dumb, dumb.
What are you doing, Will? Getting some exercise or?
Yeah, I just thought I'd go for a hike. So I was getting an epic drone shot of all this beautifulness and had my drone in the wrong mode. So it wasn't doing obstacle avoidance. And I think I may have smashed it to smithereens on a rock or something. So we're gonna go find it.
Is there a chance it's just hovering up there waiting for you?
Nope.
Okay.
Side note, if anyone wants a recipe for a smashed drone, it's 1 part basalt rock, 1 part epic scenery, and 5 parts dumb forgetfulness. Put it in the oven and let it bake for 1.5 hours while you look for your drone, run the day off course, wear out the patience of your buddies, and bore your daughters to death, and then voila, you're done.
Well, this is the face of someone who's just lost their drone. Up there on the hill behind me. Apologies to everyone who's expecting incredible drone shots. Not this trip. Damn.
Despite what turned out to be a $3,000 mistake on my part, just saying that out loud made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. Anyway, we moved on and took time to have lunch at the ranch. In 1988, the BLM purchased these 2 ranches as part of the National Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, and it's been open to the public ever since. There are over 26 buildings on the property, 19 of which are on the National Register of Historic Places. And sitting here under the cliffs having lunch, I could see why folks thought it would be a good idea to brave the road down and build a life down here on the river. After lunch, it was time to move on. We'd lost valuable daylight and had a long trek ahead on unknown trail conditions. We headed back up the hillside and began hitting water crossings. Water was quickly becoming a theme on this trip, which is ironic because we're in the desert out here. There was a half dozen or so water crossings on our way up, but little did we know that was just the tip of the iceberg, or should I say mudberg, that was waiting for us on top. It was fun to see the hillsides during our ascent because it was too dark to see much the night before. But after about 30 minutes, we reached the top and we were excited to hit the pristine dirt roads we thought were waiting for us. What we found, or maybe what found us, was classic Owyhee mud.
That's a big ass puddle.
There were dozens and dozens of massive puddles, each one coating our rigs with the nastiest mud on the planet. At first, it was really fun, but then it was just mud.
Have fun?
Careful driving, Daddy.
At this point, we were about 20 miles in and on our third or fourth reroute. We were headed to Rome Station to gas up before taking the Pillars of Rome route into the Three Forks recreation area. The mud puddles were hounding us, the volcanic rocks were threatening our tires, and we were losing daylight. And I wouldn't say we were lost, but our confidence in whether or not the roads would get us to Rome Station was beginning to wane. The Owyhees can sniff out your weakness and make you pay for them if you're not careful, so we didn't rush, but when we came into Rome Station the back way and knew we'd be able to refill our tanks, we were happy to be there. However, we picked up another bad omen while getting gas and talking to a local about the conditions of the trail that we were intending to drive.
So we have a little bit of a conundrum. So we stopped at Rome for gas. We're all gassed up, and then we started talking to a local, telling him where we were going to go, what road we're going to take, and he was like, "You guys are crazy. You'll never make it. Those Jeeps are not equipped enough for these roads. They're totally washed out." And so we're kind of debating what we're going to do. If we're going to give it a go, which probably is the wrong thing to do. When a local tells you not to go, you probably should listen. And so we only have, gosh, it's like 3:40. We only have about an hour left of daylight, so we have to figure out what we're going to do, and if we're going to air up and hit the highway or what. I don't know. We're going to put our heads together here and make a decision.
Our good sense prevailed. We took the advice and hit the pavement for a detour.
Driving about 17 miles up the road here. We're going to take county maintained road into the Three Forks recreation area. And the nice thing is those roads are maintained, so we can hopefully squeeze in there when we still have some daylight, because we are burning daylight right now. And we can make some really good time on those dirt roads.
The roads were great and we went as fast as we could, but the day was almost gone. The easy drive gave me time to reflect on losing my drone. I put a good face on for the guys and for the camera, but honestly, I was feeling pretty crappy about it. I also felt like I'd kind of let the guys down with all the setbacks, wrong turns, dead ends, general mishaps of the day. They were really good sports about it, but I think we were all ready for an easy night at Three Forks. We dropped down the side of the canyon just as the sun was beginning to set, and we immediately went to what we think is the very best campsite there.
Well, we came down to Rocky Bar, a place that we call Rocky Bar. I'm not sure if it's called that, but we have camped here before. If you've seen our videos, you probably noticed that rock right there. We've been here a few times, and it's just a beautiful place. However, here's what we found. When we got here, we found that behind us, close to us, are some people who are camping. And so I think we've decided to not be those people who show up and camp. I mean, we're not that close to them, but we're close enough that we're looking at each other. We're going to be able to hear each other. And so I think we're going to move on down the road just a bit to a place that's a little more private for them and a little more private for us.
So we found another spot, which wasn't on the water, but was still pretty dang good. We set up camp and I was done. Done. Thank God Chris got the fire going and had a plan for dinner, because I was little to no help. Ryan could make camp and be cozy on a busy street, so I wasn't worried about him. But I really wanted things to start getting easier. And Chris's plan for dinner was putting me in a good mood again. So tonight, Chris is making carne asada, and I told him I would make the Mexican street corn. So I'm gonna set up dinner and start slowly cooking the Mexican street corn. And Chris is gonna cook the carne asada a little differently tonight, so this should be really interesting.
The goal is to try and cook as much of this over the fire as possible, like over the campfire.
So what are you gonna use to cook these over the fire, Chris?
The s'mores forks.
Use s'mores forks to cook our dinner?
Yeah.
You're gonna cook the meat too?
Yeah, we're gonna cook everything on the s'mores forks.
My Mexican street corn, I'm going to cook with our jet boil. I'm going to use this, I think it's a GSI. I always forget if it's GSI or if it's Sea to Summit. I'm pretty sure it's a GSI. Collapsible stock pot. And it's really great because it's got this thing that keeps the heat in from the burner. It's got lots of room. It's got a nice non-stick surface. And the silicone actually is really easy to clean up. So this has been a good buy for us. And I'm going to use it tonight. Woo-hoo-hoo. Not good. The jet boil gets gets hot. So we got the carne asada cooked over the fire.
Yep.
With some peppers in there that were also cooked over the fire. There's the peppers.
Yep. Lots of the peppers from the garden.
Greek yogurt and some greenage on top, and a tortilla with the Mexican street corn that I made. All right.
That's very good.
After a great meal and some time by the fire, life had one more joke to play on me that night. All right, so check this out. Here I am, I was cleaning this thing, and this is something I have loved, but I started cleaning it and it just came off. Like the glue around the bottom just came off. It wasn't hot. I mean, maybe I got it too hot earlier, but you shouldn't be able to get these things too hot. There's no direct flame on the silicone or anything like that, so I'm just a little shocked right now. Shoot, you know? First I lose my drone, then my sweet stock pot turns out to be broken? I don't know. Whatever, I'm just gonna go look at the stars. Nothing takes my mind off the blues like being around my daughter. And tonight the girls were reading Edgar Allan Poe instead of telling ghost stories. It was pretty great. The dads looked on, proud as ever, and I remembered, as sorry as I was feeling for myself, life is really good. Things aren't that bad, and I'm grateful for the experiences each day brings.
For the flower's fairy eyes now burned in the blossom court, and this I sat divining.
Good morning. It's a beautiful morning. It was cold last night. It was below freezing in the tent when I got up this morning. I think it's just under 32 degrees now. The sun's starting to crack over the horizon. But I tweaked my knee yesterday when I was looking for the drone. Now it doesn't really want to bend past 90 degrees, and it doesn't hurt really bad. It hurts, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably a 4, but it feels like if I step the wrong way, something really bad's gonna happen. So I'm nursing my knee, which means I'm a little less enthusiastic about jumping out of the car and filming a bunch of stuff, but we'll see. We've got some beautiful driving ahead of us today and some beautiful countryside to see, and I just don't want my knee to become, a distraction. It's not so bad we need to go home or anything, but I'm hopeful it starts to feel a little bit better. So, gonna get out my first aid kit, pop some Tylenol, and hope for the best. So we were off to find another route across the river. The girls were in great spirits and were happy to have more time together. Chris was calm and steady as ever, and Ryan has done enough hard things in his life to know that any problems we might be facing on the trail are dwarfed by the fact that we're on the trail. We routed ourselves up the side of the canyon on a really fun and slightly technical trail. When we reached the top, we were spoiled with a view that made the whole trip worth it.
So we just stopped here for a quick photo op. We got up to this big rock up here and we just couldn't resist. It is so beautiful. This is what people maybe don't get to see when they don't take the road less traveled. We got up here, get to see that river cutting through the canyon there, and it's just quintessential Owyhee. Just so beautiful. So grateful that we got to stop here and have a little photo moment with the girls.
Along the drive, Chris's Jeep started making a sound like there was gravel in his transfer case whenever he was in four-wheel drive. This is never a good sound to hear. So we pulled over to see if we could diagnose the issue.
You see anything on the transfer case?
No.
So we don't know what it is. Something in that sound.
Yeah, what I'm guessing is I can just do it in two-wheel drive and then pop it into four-wheel drive as needed.
Taking this as our final omen, we made the decision to head back home.
Well, burn daylight if we're gonna.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Especially if we have issues later, it'd be nice to have.
Yeah, let's hit it.
We found out later that the issue was a bad Rosetta joint, so Chris had to get a new front drive shaft the next week. Smashed, lost drone, busted knee, 8 reroutes, a broken stock pot, a busted drive shaft, and 200 lost video clips. These are all of the things that went wrong on this trip. And the truth is, we can't wait to get back out there and do it all over again.
We'll make a toast. We'll remember that drone's service with honor because that drone did a lot of good for us. But we have no idea where it is and we know it's dead.